the African American Network, where we have a local feel and a global reach. And welcome back to The Coffee Break with your girl, Goldie. And today we have Dr. Travis Betts. Hey, Dr. Betts, how are you?
How are you doing?
Good,
how are you doing?
good.
Love the energy.
You know what? I was so excited to learn that you are actually from North Carolina, my home state.
Yes.
And we both Tar Heels.
Tar Heels in the building.
In the building.
You see the color,
I
right?
see you over there rapping. I see you. Dr. Betts, tell me a little bit about yourself. You are a cardiologist here in San Antonio, and you are doing your thing. What are some of the platforms that you're working on right now, and different things that you're doing in the community?
So again, first off, thank you for the opportunity to be here. And the big thing is just helping people be better versions of themselves. And when I say that, I'm working on me too. This isn't just a unilateral thing that we're moving. So ultimately, it's about helping people take back lifestyle. So whether it's in the cardiovascular space, in the fitness space, in the nutrition space, those are all things that we have the ability to favorably change and augment without any assistance, right? We might need a little guidance, a little roadmap or something like that, but for the most part, it's how we navigate our lives through lifestyle. And we talked a little bit on break about wellness and mindfulness, which is something I think that's ever growing in the African American community and communities as a whole when we think about the direction that we're going.
Dr. Betts, I feel like your job is so hard because you're a cardiologist, and like people in general don't really want to change their lifestyle. They want to eat what they want to eat. They do not want to exercise. They don't want to move. So how do you like inspire, like when your clients come in, how do you inspire them to like do different things?
See, was this a softball? Was this a setup?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I can't talk it if I don't live it, right? So that's what it's about being. And again, this is going to be something that'll come. It's about being about that life. And when I say life, when I use that acronym, I'm talking about living intentionally forever, right? Just being intentional about what you do, whether it's having conversations with people, whether it's about setting your schedule so that you can work out and do the things that you want to do. But it is tough to change behaviors. They said it's about 21 days before you turn that habit around. And so I tell people it took them, when they see me, usually they're about 40, 50 years old. It took you 40, 50 years old to build these habits. Don't expect me to fix them in 5 days, right? So we start a process. We start a relationship. So once you build that relationship and you garnish that trust, then you start taking those steps forward to ensure that whether it's mindfulness, whether it's exercise, whether it's diet, whether it's sleep hygiene, right? We all got to get that time to repair. Whether it's taking those steps to really develop those strategies, that's what we do. Now, at the same time, I'm still fixing hearts. And I can tell you, cardiologists, this is a plug for all those people watching, young, old, that want to be cardiologists. Trust me, it is probably the single most rewarding profession. It's not too hard because there's only 3 things that really could go wrong with the heart. Squeeze function, right? So structure. Rhythm, right? So the electrical component, and then just your arteries. That's it. That's all I have to worry about. I don't have to worry about the electrolytes and all that. That's it. It's cardiology. It's beautiful.
I mean, what you do is so near and dear to me because my dad had cardiovascular disease. And so I watched him as I was growing up have a lot of heart problems. He began to have strokes, and he was searching for like ways to be healthier, things to do, what to eat. So what do you think is probably one of the like biggest things that hurts African American people?
You know, I get that question. You would think I would be prepared every time that question comes because it's what affects the African American community.
Because I heard it's, like, honestly, I heard it's dairy. I heard dairy is like one of the biggest things that we should not do.
Well, you've already heard me say, you know, upwards of 70, 90% of African Americans have some degree of lactose intolerance, right? And when you look at the impact of, again, not to get too scientific, but chronic inflammation and what it has on the body, we know that as a new risk factor for heart disease. But if you were to say, Dr. Betts, you know, could you narrow it down to one thing? Again, lifestyle. It is how we live. The things that we hold on to, whether it's the fried food. We know the Southern diet, right? Southern diet. There was a study done at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, where they looked at the Southern diet. 50% increase in, again, renal disease, a 30% increase in heart attack, another 30% or so increase in stroke. just by what you eat and what you put into your body.
So let me just ask, how often can I have macaroni and cheese and ribs and barbecue chicken and cake? Because I love cake. Like, how often can I have this stuff?
Well, again, remember, my approach, and I know all those things.
Biscuits and gravy, I'm just saying.
Okay, you just yelling them out now. You just, your biscuits, fried. You didn't even put a food. You just said fried. Oh, no, I think it's a strategy of adjustments, right? Because what I say is the absence of meat isn't the presence of health, right? Okay. You could, rock with Oreos if you want to. That's vegan, right? To some degree, I guess. But I want you to eat real food. And so what I do with my patients, I have a program. It's called SFCC, super simple, size, frequency, composition, choice. The first thing I do is we focus 12 weeks on portion size. Well, 3 weeks on portion size, just learning how much you can eat and how to partition your calories. The second one is, again, frequency. Whether you do intermittent fasting, I want you to be intentional about when you eat. It's timing those meals so that you get the most out of what you eat. Frequency, composition, changing that plate. More fresh fruits and vegetables. You can still keep the meat that you like in the starch, but overall, I want you to add more vegetables. And then finally, choice. This is the hardest one. Right. This is where when you choose to bake that chicken. This is when you choose to use a low-fat option when you make that mac and cheese. And then sometimes maybe even say, you know what, let me try some vegan options. Let me try some different things. And that's when you make those choices. And over those 12 weeks, what I ask them to do is every Monday, just Google your favorite recipe and put vegetarian, vegan, or low-fat in front of it. So at the end of 12 weeks, you're empowered with 12 recipes plus strategies to improve size, frequency, composition, and choice. Mic drop. There we go.
You a bad man. You a bad man.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. Now I watched some of your videos about your ideas about COVID. And some of the questions that people have. I mean, I've had some of these questions about like, well, how did they come up with this vaccine so fast? And is it safe? Because it came out just like that, and they were trying to force us to, take it. So what are some of your ideas about that?
So again, the COVID-19 virus, I think, has done a couple of things. What it's done, it allowed us to reimagine healthcare. And you say, is that a good thing? Well, I think it is to some degree. Because what it's allowed us to do is to really take healthcare to a place where now access through a virtual space is something that is real. We didn't think that to be something in our future. Now, what it's also done is it's forced us to look at things that we saw as risk factors, but we didn't really push, right? Obesity. One of the biggest risk factors in terms of how well you do, how long you're hospitalized, and those things in the context of COVID. With respect to the science that comes out, I teach my patients to understand that when you're looking at science, make sure, number one, it's from a reputable source. Number two, make sure that it's reproduced in other places. If you only hear it from one place, again, you got to be a little leery. But I can tell you that most of the data that's coming out with COVID is in respect to, again, what we know about those type of viruses. And it's not the first time. We've had SARS, we've had MERS, we've had other viruses that have behaved similarly, but now it's about moving that into a space where we can understand it in what we're doing now.
Okay, so just I hear you. I hear you. But from your professional opinion, would you say it's safe?
The vaccine?
Yes. Would you say the boosters are safe? Should everybody?
You put me on. But yeah, what I'll say is this: when you look at the vast majority of risk that's associated with the vaccine, it is low. The CDC has done a good job of looking at data in individuals such as ourselves, young, healthy individuals, and we're concerned about myocarditis or inflammation of the heart. Your likelihood of actually getting the virus and getting myocarditis is about 10 to 20-fold risk higher than if you were to take the vaccine. We know that if you get COVID, your risk of death, hospitalization, heart failure, long-term sequelae, or long-term problems is, again, 5 to 10-fold higher. So when you look at that cost-benefit ratio, it directly favors vaccination, still protecting yourself, still making those decisions, and then making sure you live a healthy lifestyle so that you reduce your risk moving forward. Now, I don't know if I can say this. We're actually working on a research article. I'm excited about it. It's where we look at nutritional strategies to prevent and decrease the risk of COVID.
Okay, Dr. Batts. So tell us about this foundation that you just recently became involved with.
Perfect. No, the foundation. So great question. And I'm super excited to talk about the Rance Olison Foundation. So Rance Olison was a former NFL player who really had a heart for his community. Based out of Arkansas, so he was from Arkansas, and every year he would go back and just give so much to the community, whether it was clothing drives, bicycle drives, really to engage the community in the growth of children, the elderly, and everything else. Unfortunately, he succumbed to heart disease. But before he did that, he started a foundation that increased awareness, not only for our community in respect to heart disease, but also the community as a whole. And so from the foundation, what he's developed are strategies for individuals to improve their heart health, of which kind of I'm a big part of.
Yeah, that goes in line with what you teach.
Right,
Yeah.
that is what we do. But at the same time, it opens up the community to reach out and to grab other folks. People that I guess normally wouldn't be, let's say, partners, so to speak. But when you're looking at heart health, it's one of those things where all assistance, all hands on deck, so to speak. So what we're preparing for with the foundation is probably one of our biggest events. We do events throughout the year, but the month of October is our big time. So this Saturday, or again, the 1st of October at 6 p.m., we will be having, you ready for this? A celebrity basketball game. Now, no, I won't be in the game. I still got a little bit of handles, a little bit, but I'm going to be watching.
You giving me corner vibes.
Okay.
You giving me corner vibes.
Really? That's what we're doing now? But no, so this Saturday, October 1st, 6 p.m., it's going to be celebrity basketball players versus, you ready for this? Military members.
Okay.
So San Antonio is Military USA.
Yeah.
And so this will be a good opportunity to get the military out there, to get, again, some celebrities, have some fun. And again, all the proceeds will be for that good cause to really help develop heart health awareness, as well as other community organizations. One of them is to get children back exercising and doing bikes. We do another bike drive in December where we do that push. Now, all of these events will culminate into our biggest event called our gala. This year's gala theme, The Great Gatsby.
Nice.
So you come dressed in whatever you want to be dressed in, but for the most part, you're going to be, looking like the 1920s, 1930s, having a good time. Again, that place, I won't even start to name or enumerate the number of professional athletes, actors, various people coming through. And of course, I'll be in the building too. So it's going to be a great time. It's October 29th. At the end of the month, you can tickets or information at the Rance Olison website, www.ranceolisonfoundation.com.
So if there's somebody that's got some ball skills, they want to get in on the basketball game.
Okay.
Can they still get in on it, or is that closed?
They still can get in if they got some game. Now that's the thing. We don't want you coming out there working and practicing, and we see you stretching. Yeah, it's okay, but you got to be able to. It's gonna be some hoopers out there for real. It's gonna be some hoopers. So if they want to reach out, they can use that same website again, www.ranceolisonfoundation.com, and identify themselves. Let us know, and we're always looking for individual partners if they just want to come out and watch the game and have a good time.
Right. So people can just, in the general public, can just come and watch the game and support.
Definitely. Come and watch the game and support. And again, the location, it is local. We'll put that information out through all social media platforms so we can give you the specifics on the location. But we have a location. It's just play my head, not my heart.
I got you.
Just,
hey, I definitely understand.
There you go. So
right. Like you brought up a good point. You said like getting kids back out there to be active. Because kids today, they just in the house, video gaming it up. And it's not, like when we were kids, you better go outside.
Go outside. Street lights come on, you racing to get back home.
You better stay outside, inside or outside.
Especially where we from.
Right, from North Carolina. So, we were always outside, like playing and doing stuff. And now I feel like that's something that's kind of getting lost over time. How does what you're doing with the foundation translate into actually getting kids outside?
Wow, that's powerful. So I'll give you a fact. I like to lead in with a fact, and I'll tell you why. So did you know one of the fastest growing groups of individuals with obesity, kind of earlier disease states, is African American youth? When you think about now, again, I know you got a medical background. I know that.
A little bit.
Remember, we used to call diabetes adult onset. Right? Remember we used to call it that. Why did we stop? Because now it's not occurring in adults.
Right.
Children.
In children.
The youngest person diagnosed with diabetes was somebody under the age of 5 years old. Guess what? Right down the road in Houston, Texas.
Wow.
5 years old. Under 5 years. I think there were 3 or 4, right? But what that tells us is that sedentary behaviors, our diet, and just the overall construct of how we interact. We interact like this right now. We don't do any more of this. And so those are the things that we really want children to get up, get out, and enjoy the natural world, just how we did, right? To stave off some of these issues, right? I tell people, if I can stop you from having hypertension, high cholesterol, diabetes, and all those things before you get 40, 50, 60, guess what? I'm going to stop you from having heart attack, stroke, heart failure, all those things when you're in your 50s, 60s, and 70s. And so that's why for us, it is an impassioned movement to shift that idea, shift those ideologies, and get those kids out. And they don't have to be in sports per se. I don't know if you know, I'm also a Zumba instructor. So we do a neighborhood Zumba.
You know what? You are one of the most hustling physicians I have ever met. Hey. But that's a great thing. Right. That's so inspiring and motivating for other people. Yeah. Let me ask you this real quick question. You know how people say a lot of times we say it in the African American community, it runs in my family, right? And so I've always said that heart disease, stroke, run on my daddy's side of the family. What is that really? What am I really saying? Is it a genetic thing, or is it just the way people eat and they pass that down?
See, and again, I'll give you a touch of the science. Okay. So there are both modifiable and non-modifiable risk factors, right? Modifiable are those things that you talked about. Basically, that lifestyle, that growing up in the South, the Southern diet, kind of eating a big meal, sitting back, falling asleep. That, with the itis,
With the itis.
I gotta say it, so I gotta make it plain. But at the same time, those non-modifiable risk factors create what we call this two-hit hypothesis, where you have an underlying substrate or underlying risk, and then you feed that risk with environmental triggers.
Nature versus nurture.
Bam.
Come on,
you got it. All right, there we go. Fist bump right here. Boom, we working, right? This is work. So ultimately, you can overcome some of that underlying substrate, well, most of that underlying substrate, by changing those behaviors. So in cardiology, we saw a dip in where we basically were, knocking heart disease out. But from 1990 to the 2000s, we saw that flatten, and then that curve started to go back up. The only thing that changed there, the medicine stayed the same. Our ability to do complex cases and interactions and all that stayed the same. The one thing that changed was people's activities, the foods that they chose, and their ability to manage stress and to do those things. And as those things started to impact those lives, they overcame what good the medicines could do. And so now in our journal, the Journal of American College of Cardiology, we're pushing for more strategies toward lifestyle. We're pushing for more strategies for people to understand the importance of balancing what you do. You know what I tell people when they say, Dr. Bass, I'm just on this grind. That's cool, but you know what grinding does? It turns you to dust. Right? Embrace how you live, embrace what you do in such a way that, again, every day is purposeful. It is intentional. And again, you know what you want to do and where you want to go with that.
Right. Great. What gave you this hunger? What gave you this motivation that I'm seeing right now? What did that for you in your life?
No, I mean, that question is always a tough one, right? Because I think about my father. My father was, again, my hero. He still is, and I'll never be the man that he was. But as healthy as he was active duty military, 82nd Airborne, jumped out of plane, chewed nails, did all that. But once hypertension hit, once diabetes hit, once Alzheimer's disease hit, it took away some of who he was. And when I saw him at the latter end of his life, when he still could communicate and engage with me, he just said, your whole goal is to make a difference, no matter what that is. He didn't say what he needed me to do. He didn't force me to be a physician. He didn't force me to do anything. But he just told me, your whole goal in this life is to make someone else's life better. And that brings us back to the point where Coach O, or Rance Olison, his saying was, you got to be a giver before you can be a gainer. Right? And just that mantra is something that I try to wake up with every day, thinking about my father, thinking about Coach O, thinking about all the people that have poured into me, is that they didn't pour into me for me to be a conduit to hold it, right? They poured into me for me to let that go, to give to other people.
Awesome. Tar Heel.
There we go. There we go.
My fellow Tar
There we go,
Heel.
Tar
That's
Heel.
amazing. We were at Carolina at the same time.
I know. Now don't get too mad. I'm also a Jayhawk, Rock Chalk KU. So I did have to. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm also a Bronco.
Okay.
I got my master's from Fayetteville State.
Okay.
Yeah. Come on now.
There we go. We know we had to say.
This has been awesome.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for what you do and
Excellent.
who you are
No
and what you bring to the community.
No problem.
Yeah.
It was great. Thank you so much.
Much love.
Appreciate it.